Hello, my friends. This is Rob Lenfestey here at the Crystal Fields, crouching low in one of my favorite little spring-fed creeks, fed by probably 10 springs, just a few hundred feet upstream of where I stand right now. And like I said, this is one of my favorite places, just abundant, clear quartz terminated crystals, and it's just abundant quartz in the plant life. And in order to get to some of these magical places where you find the best crystals, you kind of have to get on your hands and knees, sometimes on your belly, and crawl through this stuff. And so I want to touch on just the importance of getting on our hands and knees and crawling, and especially in these kinds of environments. I mean, in our society, people walk generally on pavement straight up, don't squat or crouch very often. When they sit down, they sit in a chair, which is not really designed ergonomically for our lower backs, and they don't get to explore the full range of motions that exist in their joints. They don't get to feel what it feels like to have quartz crystal and abundant gushing spring water coursing over their bare feet. There is very little I can do to explain the full extent of what one can learn from engaging in these kinds of activities often. A lot of it goes without saying. A lot of it is basically just transmitted in the enthusiasm and the understanding and awareness of how magical and really inconceivably amazing life is. How amazing this world we live in is. By being low and crouched down, not only are you getting into your joints and tendons and muscles and using them in new and different ways, you're getting into the micro world. You're seeing things that you don't necessarily see when you're standing up tall and just walking with a destination in mind. And so it's movement for the sake of movement. I had nowhere that I needed to go. There was no destination that I set. Simply moving, crouching, crawling on all fours, utilizing my body in many different ways, every single surface, dynamic and different. So a different set of stabilizers, a different balance that I'm integrating with every single motion and every single movement. And all the while, also, all my senses are turned on. Besides just feeling the water in the stone, the smell of the beautiful spring-fed aquatic and lush Appalachian environment, the sound of the birds, the sound of the rumbling thunder. You can even just taste the clear, ionized awesomeness of the air coming from this flowing water right here as well. And yeah, I mean, I could go over some of the advantages of why we want to go barefoot, besides just the full tactile experience that I just described. I mean, it basically, by crawling on all fours and being barefoot, I'm using every bit of impact absorption that my body can muster. It's one of the lowest impact ways I can move. At first, of course, maybe it'll hurt because you're using muscles and joints and tendons and things in ways that you never have before. But that's okay. You actually come to feel the difference between that kind of pain and the kind of pain you get from an injury. And you start to relish that kind of pain because it's old things moving out and new freedom moving in. And I've definitely, in my life, come to relish this experience personally. And so, by reducing impact, we're basically getting rid of old injuries. And the fact that we're actually utilizing all those subtle muscles and tendons that control all of the subtle balance. If you're just walking on a flat, hard platform shoe day in and day out, very little of your subtle balancing muscles and muscular skeletal capacity even gets utilized. So by walking barefoot over stones like this, every single motion's slightly different. Even on my hands, for my arms, it's restructuring my whole body. So if you're someone who's used to wearing shoes all the time, then your muscle and skeletal structure has slowly compensated for that kind of unnatural balance. And if you start going barefoot again, start crawling around on all fours, start crawling on your belly, using your body in different ways, your body will restructure itself to a more natural, light, and flexible and mobile mode. And thereby, your capacity to move through any kind of environment will increase dramatically. The fluidity in which you can move and the grace in which you can move in any environment, whether it's through the middle of the city or crawling on all fours through a rhododendron-socked spring system, you're going to be able to move far more fluidly and with much greater enthusiasm and grace. Once again, can only explain it so far. It's one of these things that getting out there and really giving it a try. And that doesn't mean just one time and ow, my feet hurt, I'm done. You got to really stick with it for like a couple months at least to really start to see, okay, here's the benefit. Some people might go out one time and be sold. For some, though, it takes a little bit of time. I mean, being this grounded, literally by walking barefoot through the earth, we're literally grounding ourselves. Like by walking around on insulated surfaces, rubber soles, on asphalt, in buildings. There's not many opportunities in modern life to really ground, literally, your energy into the earth. So people actually carry latent charge. You can hook them up to a multimeter, ground the multimeter, and you can measure the charge that human beings carry in them. And it does have a significant negative effect on people's health and well-being. So by putting your bare feet into the ground, you are literally electrically grounding yourself into the earth and dispensing of the excess charge, which is the cause of a lot of inflammation and issues that we have in our society today. And yeah, there's like a whole mental, physical construct that happens. Like when your foot touches the ground just slightly, in that microsecond that your foot senses and detects the kind of surface that it's on, its hardness, like the angles, what kind of way, your entire body will adjust itself to compensate for that. You don't get that in a shoe, or at least not nearly to the same extent. It's incredible, the amount of information that passes through your feet. Your feet, the bottoms of your feet, the soles of your hand are very important sensory organs. We glean a lot of information from our environment, from our hands and our feet. And if our feet never get to touch any surface besides the inside of our shoes, there's an entire realm of intelligence that's really difficult to describe, fantastic and amazing to experience, that would be unavailable. So I cannot emphasize with more enthusiasm how amazing it is to take your shoes off and get out into the woods and experience the different surfaces and textures. Experience what it feels like to put your feet on the moss, to put your feet on the stone, to walk in all these different surfaces, how it changes your awareness of your environment, perhaps how it changes the hyperactivity of the mind. Walking barefoot, you're more aware of where you're stepping next, and you can't just plow through a place in the same way that you might be used to. brings you really deeply into the present moment. So if you've watched this video and you get the inspiration, please get out into your world with bare feet and an open mind to move in all the different ways that you can possibly imagine. If there's a place that you can't walk to because it's too socked in vegetation, get on your belly and crawl. Whole worlds will open up to you in many more ways than one.